Hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're talking about Deku was a mercenary. So, in the last video Deku, Izuku gone to a party with his mother. Apparently, it's about celebrating Izuku's arranged marriage with Jiro. After the party, Izuku starts bringing his mother back home because she was drunk, as it's basically the next day of school where they're gonna be having their heroics class, and I showed off Izuku's costume. After doing that, Izuku started getting ready for that class, as he was told to wear his brand new costume, which he's kind of embarrassed of because his mother, aka the Loan Shark, or the leader of the Loan Sharks, Izuku was told that this actual costume was made by her, and back in the day, his adopted mother being her, she was a inspiring fashionista, but unfortunately she kind of failed at that and decided to do another job, being her current job. So, after putting on this brand new costume, everybody was confused because Izuku looked like a general instead of, a mercenary. But Izuku just trudged onward as Izuku finished off the fight, as Izuku wins the actual test, being the Heroes vs. Villain test. So, after finishing it, Izuku goes back home as he basically goes to sleep. So, that's a simple synopsis of what happened last episode. So, let's talk about what happens next. So, after Izuku wakes up from his, sleep, obviously, Izuku starts getting ready for breakfast. After Izuku made breakfast for his mother, Izuku leaves, leaving the breakfast in the dining room table. So, after Izuku leaves, Izuku started moving to his school. After getting that, he was told that they're going to be having another simple class. It was pretty simple until it was finally lunchtime. So, everybody started going to the lunchroom, as they started getting their meals, as Izuku decides to sit with his classmates. So, many of his classmates wanted to ask questions like, for example, why are you married to Jiro, and many other things. As Kaminari said this, Izuku, I wanted to ask, why did you, or how are you married to Jiro? Because she seems to be the type of girl that doesn't want to have a man at all. As Izuku just says simply, because our parents made a arranged marriage about it, so we're basically married because of that. As one of his classmates said this, being Bakugo, I can't believe this girl, aka Jiro, decided to, marry you. After all, you're quite weak. As Izuku just says this, says the guy who lost to me last time. As he says this, what did you say, nerd? As Izuku just says this, say that again. As Izuku creates a blade from his arm, as Izuku pointed at him, as Izuku just says this, I will slit your throat, and that blood will become the sauce. Got it? As Bakugo said this, fine, whatever. So, after a while of talking, they see a young girl, the same age as them, in fact. She has green hair similar to Izuku, but had almost similar green eyes to Izuku, or at least green, like simply green, while Izuku's is more like a light blue mixed with, green, as one of his other eyes is pure red. As she starts walking towards Bakugo, as she says this, hey Bakugo, it's been a long time. As she, Bakugo, he says this, wait, Izumi, what are you doing here? As she says this, I told you, I decided to join UA, and second of all, I'm in class 1B, so I guess we're not classmates anymore. As he says this, ugh, whatever. As one of them, being Mineta, being a perv, says this, Bakugo, who is that? As he says this. Well, this is my childhood friend. Her name is Izumi. Izumi. Wait for a second. Izumi Ruma. As she says this. Nice to meet you all. Whoa. What's your name over there? The one with the tan skin. I never seen you before. As Izuku just says this. The name's Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you. As she says this. I was wondering, what is your quirk? As Izuku just says this. My quirk is just called Blade Creation. It just allows me to create swords, blades, knives, and any other bladed weapons. As she says this. Whoa, cool! As Izuku just says this. I'm guessing your quirk is called One for All. As everybody was shocked. As one of them said this. Are you sure, Izuku? As the girl looks nervous. Izumi just says this. Yeah, my quirk is called One for All. How did you know that? As Izuku just says this. Let's just say my skills in, spying and also deducting is pretty high, so I can obviously tell that you're nervous. Why is that? Are you afraid? As she says this. No, I'm not afraid at all. Actually, I should start leaving. As one of his classmates, being Bakugo, said this. How the hell did you know? As Izuku just says this. I have my ways. So, after lunchtime, they started leaving, as when when it's the end of the day, they were told that they're gonna be having a special little, wait for a second, little field trip, which is where they're gonna be going to. They're going to, drum roll please, ding, the USJ, basically, the USJ, obviously. As when everybody was told of this, Izuku kind of feels suspicious because during that time when it was lunchtime, Izuku felt like a presence that seems familiar to him, but not really. So Izuku just thought it was just a stupid scent or something, or just somebody that's just, watching him. But Izuku still has a gut feeling about it. So Izuku just keep that in mind. So, when it's finally time for the, field trip to the USJ, everybody started going into the bus. As everybody was talking, they asked about what are their quirks actually. Until it gets to Izuku. Izuku explains what his quirk is, as one of his classmates said this. So, Izuku, if you can create leads, does that mean you're able to create, knives or, forks? As Izuku just says this. Pardon me? What? As he says this. Well, are just swords just four-pronged or just one-pronged, forks? As Izuku just says this. Are you that crazy? As he says this. Hear me out, hear me out. What if? And this is just a what if. What if what if just forks are actually just four-pronged or five-pronged or even three-pronged swords or knives? As Ezekiel just says this. Stop. As he says this. Wait, what if a trident is actually just a long spear with three or four or even five spikes or knives, or as Ezekiel just says this. Do not give me that stupid mental image of that. As he says this. Oh, come on, it sounded like a great idea. As Izuku just says this. The more you say about it, it sounds even more ridiculous. So, after a while of talking with that stupid classmate of his, it's finally time where they finally made it to the USJ. So, when they made it there, they see their well, wait for a second, their guide. That guide was the 13th hero. 13th. Makes sense. As everybody starts moving around, as 13 starts talking about how heroes and quirks can be determined by birth. Even if their quirk is villainous, it doesn't mean that they're villainous. Just as long as it's, not, like, wait for a second, manipulating their, minds or personalities. So, after telling about that, Izuku felt like somebody is watching them, as a portal appears in the middle of the USJ, as they see several villains appear, including one which Izuku recognizes, the traitor. The traitor of the Asanai Saba, which Izuku saw firsthand. Her name was, wait for a second, Hassan of the Army. Originally, she used guns instead of knives, and Izuku and her never really got along, mostly because she thought that outsiders are nothing more than weak and pathetic. But when she tried to kill Izuku that one time, well, let's just say the clan had enough. And they stripped her of her title, calling her a traitor, causing her to basically become an outsider herself, as Izuku was now a member of the Asanai Saba. But for her, she wanted revenge. And Izuku knows about it, and she definitely seemed pissed, as Shigaraki appears behind her, as she says this. Or, I meant he. So, he said this. We are the League of Villains, and we're here to kill All Might. Now, come here, little boy. As Izuku was teleported right in front of them. As he says this. It's been a long time. The mercenary known as Hassan the Fool. As Izuku steps back, as everybody that's hearing this, they said this. What? As Izuku just says this. I told you. I would never join your little army. And besides, your ideals and everything that you stand for makes me sick. As Hassan of the army says this. You're the one who made my so-called friends betray me. You're the one who deceived them. As Izuku just says this. You're the one that's deceived. You think of yourself as nothing more, but instead you're just arrogant. You believed your power is greater than I. But you used that power to do whatever the hell you wanted. You're no Hassan. You're a traitor. As she says this. Why you? As she starts using her Zombania Battalion, where she creates many, and I mean many, guns. It's basically like a version of Izuku's, quirk, being, blade creation, but instead it's guns. So, several guns were made as they were rifles, mostly rifles with, blades at the end. So, she starts shooting them at Izuku, which Izuku dodged them. As for the rest of the, students, they were teleported all around the USJ. As Izuku started fighting all of these villains, Izuku sees, 13, and, wait for a second, Aizawa start charging in and wanted to help Izuku. So, when Aizawa charges in, he used his quirk to stop all of their villain quirks. Basically, the villains were stopped. So, he starts smashing them to the ground, using his, fighting style to basically start beating them. As he says this to Izuku. Hey Izuku, mind explaining what is your power exactly, and what is this Asanai Saba or whatever the hell it's called? As Izuku just says this. Let's just say I'm a mercenary. I was told that I'm going to be protecting Miss Miss Momo, as Izuku punches a guy right in the face, breaking some of his teeth. As Izuku starts explaining again, after I was finished my training, I came back home, but I was also told that I was also going to be married to Jiro, so let's just say my job is basically getting paid to do whatever the hell they wanted. As he says this, okay, but what is your relationship with that girl? As Izuku just says this, he just explains this. Let's just say she hates me. Let's just say she also hates me for another reason. The reason why is because, let's just say I made her entire tribe, aka the Hasanai Saba, hate her. Because I was trying to help her out. Trying to, make her feel like I'm an actual person. But she believed that anybody that's an outsider is weaker than her. But because of that arrogance, she was banished, and I became a true Hassan. That's why I was given the code name Hassan of the Fool. As she says this, just die already! As she starts creating more guns and started shooting at Izuku and Aizawa. Izuku creates a bladed shield, which that kind of makes him, wait for a sec, have a migraine because of that, making that shield blade. Izuku throws the shield blade at her, which causes her to have a slice all on her chest. Basically, like, she gets a scar on her chest because of that. As she says this, "You dare try and cut me down? Very well, take this, Zombania Battalion." As she starts creating more guns, as more of these guns start shooting at them, as when 13 tried to use her, whole quirk, she was shot down, causing her to basically implode. If you don't know what's implode, it's basically like the opposite of like an explosion. It basically sucks her up and basically disappear. So, after Izuku, saw that, Izuku just says this, You're no Hassan. You're a monster. Why the hell did you kill that innocent life?" As she says this, "You're no different. You're also an assassin, a mercenary. I saw you last time. Last time, you killed a traitor. A traitor to, that country. The country that I was living in. The country that I was born in. The country that betrayed me because of you." As Izuku just says this, "Shut up. I was told to do whatever the hell I was told. I was told to kill those that betrayed the clan. And those that tried to hurt the people there. And it's my job to defeat you, you damn traitor." As she says this, "Shut up!" As she starts creating more guns. These guns started shooting at Izuku's body, ripping him apart, but Izuku endured the pain. As Izuku just says this, "Take this, Hassan the Fool." As Izuku throws more blades at her, as it slices her apart. As she says this, "Come on, just use your true Zombania. Using this worn-out, pathetic version of your attack makes me sick. It makes me feel unworthy. Come on, fight me, fight me, fight me." Izuku just says this, "You really think that you're worthy of fighting me with my full strength?" Wait for a second. Sorry about that. So, Izuku, after seeing all of the destruction that she's causing, Izuku just snaps. Izuku just says this, "Hey, a son of the army." As she says this, "What is it, you damn outsider? The one who made my country betray me." As Izuku just says this, "I'm tired of you daring to try and kill everybody. as she says this. So what you gonna do with that? When the... As Izuku unsheaths his sword. As the sheath starts coming to life, transforming into this monstrous clown demon. As Izuku just says this. Allow me to show you what my true is. I've been hiding it for a long time. Because, let's say, it's a bit different than your normal bond, like Zambania. Unlike your typical Zambania that uses a demon's powers and using demonic mana, mine is a bit different, using a mix of my quirk and the demonic magic that I was given. Well, let's just say this will be fun tearing you apart. As Izuku gets his blade, as Izuku just says this, Zambania, revenge. As Izuku starts charging towards her, as when she starts shooting at Izuku, Izuku disappears, like if it were to be a clone. As Izuku goes behind her and says this, die already. As Izuku stabs her right in her chest, stabbing her, causing all of her organs to spill out. As when, well, Aizawa saw this, he said this, what the... As when Shigaraki sees this, he says this, how the hell did you kill her? She was one of our best. As Izuku just says this, oh come on. Do you really think that I, a person from the Hassan Aisaba, would be weak? And besides, this traitor decides to use her powers against me. She didn't even finish her training. In fact, she was just a stupid infant when she tried to use her Zambania for the first time. And she didn't even train that well. She was lazy. Now it's your turn. As he says this, sorry, but my little friend over here won't let you kill me. As a creature comes out with a bird-like face and large physique. As he says this, kill him, Nomu. After all, I did create you to kill All Might, and this boy would be a great test subject. As the Nomu starts charging in, as Izuku just says this, take him down, my lovely jester. As the jester-like demon appears, made out of his scabbard, as its only one eye starts looking around, as this creature starts tearing the Nomu apart, as it starts regenerating. The regeneration was not as fast, so it just tore it apart, leaving it as a former self of what that Nomu really is. As for Shigaraki, let's just say he was pissed off, saying, how dare you, I'm supposed to be the so-called leader of the League of Villains, how am I losing? As Izuku just says this, let me tell you why you're losing. It's because you're nothing but trash, human garbage. As he says this, no. As when Konigiri saw this, Konigiri teleports him away. As for the rest of the students, they came out of their whole situation unscathed. Except for Kaminari, which he's going into dum-dum mode, unfortunately. So, after that day, they started leaving. So, Izuku escorts Momo back to her place. As for Jiro, Izuku starts walking home with her. As she says this, well, that was an interesting day. As Izuku just says this, interesting. More like nostalgic. As she says this, what do you mean? As Izuku just says this, Well, let's just say I fought against an old friend of mine. As she says this. An old friend? As Izuku just says this. Yeah. Let's just say she's currently living out her life in a brand new world. I hope she's at least, back to her senses. At least. So, she says this. Oh, I see. So, Izuku, do you want to do anything, on the weekends or anything? I mean, I'm free. So, as Izuku just says this. Very well. I'll take you on a date later. Maybe tomorrow? As Izuku smiles. As when Jiro saw this, she started blushing. As she says this. Okay. I guess I could be leaving now. So, after she leaves, Izuku was all alone. As Izuku leaves. So, after leaving, Izuku starts going back home, seeing the rest of the loan sharks, which were Izuku's kidnappers, but Izuku doesn't know, as Izuku sees his mother. Izuku says this, I'm home, as she says this. Oh, Izuku, are you okay, or anything? As Izuku just says this, I told you not to worry about me. After all, I've been trained how to defend myself and how to defeat my enemies. As she says this, oh yeah, after all, you were, trained by the Asanai Saba. I forgotten. Are you at least okay? Are you, traumatized? As Izuku just says this. Mom, I told you, I'm not a little kid. I'm gonna be getting some sleep now. Good night, Mother. As she says this. Good night, Izuku. So, after Izuku gets some well-earned rest, he goes to sleep. But we're not ending the video yet, because we're going to a different perspective. This perspective is in, Izumi's mother, also known as Izumi, or should I say, Izumi's mother, also known by many others as Inko Iruma. So, let's begin. So, when Izumi came back home, her home was actually pretty fancy. In fact, it actually seems that they're stable now. So, for Inko is currently trying to help out her brand new husband after, Mr. What's his name? Asashi left her. As she says this. So, honey, do you want to have anything? As he says this. Don't worry, honey. I'm just getting some rest now. After all, my job's a bit hard. As Izumi just says this. Hello, Mother. It's been a long time. It was tiring at school. As she says this. Izumi, are you okay? As she says this. Yeah, I actually met my classmate, or at least my old classmate, Bakugo, as she says this. So, how is he? As she says this. Actually, he's been doing pretty well. In fact, he's not even bullying anybody anymore. In fact, he seems to be a different person. And I also met this boy. I think his name was Izuku or something. As Inko says this. Izuku? Really? What does he look like? As she says this. Well, he's a classmate of Bakugo's. As she says this. Uh-huh. Anything else? As she says this. Well, he has similar green hair to you, and he also seems to be quite charismatic, even though he has, pretty tan skin, which is weird. He also has a blade-like quirk. As she says this. Wait. A blade-like quirk. As Izumi just says this. Is anything wrong, Mother? As she says this. Oh, it's nothing. Just go to the dining hall. dinner's ready already. As she says this. Oh, okay. As she leaves to get her dinner. As for Inko, she goes into her room as she opens up a curtain, revealing several pictures. Several of these pictures of, well, Izuku's adopted mother, Sakura, as she says this. So, my son, my long-lost son, I found you. And that bitch. If she dared, if she ever laid a hand on you, I'm gonna make her pay. After all, I am now technically the now wife of the CEO of a pretty famous company. Izuku, I'm gonna bring you back. I'm gonna bring you back to where you belong. With me. So, after doing that, she screamed out and said this. Sakura, I'm gonna make you pay for what you've done. For taking away my child. I will make you pay no matter what. I will bring back Izuku. Even if it means killing myself. I will bring back Izuku to his real family. So, this will be the end of the episode. So, I hope you liked the video, comment it and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!